Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another riveting episode of AGI, Anthony and Greg on Intelligence. I'm Anthony Maggio, and with me is Greg Prost, and we are here to bring you another talk on artificial intelligence. Greg, what do we have today to talk about?
I don't know if it's riveting or not, but we're going to try and incorporate AI into everything we're doing here. In fact, we're going to try and have it as a third commentator here for a bit. But right off the bat, we did a little asking it some ideas here. I don't know if it was full roulette, but it knows me to a certain extent. So, I think it skewed it toward municipalities here a little bit. But first thing it started off with was talking about the age of agentic AI. You and I have talked about this quite a bit. So what are those 5 levels of OpenAI? We're at the 3rd level, agentic. I can't remember what they are. We're going to ask AI right off the bat here.
So when we talk about agentic, so we have kind of 2 things there, right? There's the generative AI, and then we have the agentic AI. So the generative one, right, that's your ChatGPT in that. You have something open, you give it a prompt, and you submit the prompt, and it generates some output. It could be an image, it could be a video, it could be just a text response, right? So that's like your generative AI. Or
like everybody writes their emails, and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right?
So what about agentic? So when you say agentic AI, so we know the generative one, type in, enter, gives it back. What is then the agentic piece of that?
Yeah, it's almost not even asking for directions, right? It's not you're telling it what to do and it's going off and operating on its own. So it's operating independently to a certain extent. You can think of it as a big macro is kind of the way I look at it. Hey, Nancy, I'm curious about, there are 5 levels that OpenAI have kind of put the relevance of AI or as it moves along, and I know the 3rd one was agentic. Can you explain how those 5 levels work a little bit? Oh man, we tried this again. It's not working. Hang on.
There's always technical difficulties in that one.
No doubt.
Because you always have something popping up.
I think I got to start a new one here.
It may have timed out. So what we have then is we're putting on, I think you have chat. Is that
I
right?
do. I have chat.
So we got chat on right now, and there's a voice feature on it. So when we go to the voice mode,
you hear me?
We're going to actually be talking, and it's going to be interacting back, hopefully, as we go.
I'm hoping you're there. I had you earlier.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, so OpenAI came out with kind of 5 levels of AI as we move along. I know the 3rd one was agentic. Can you explain those 5 levels a little bit?
Absolutely. So when folks talk about levels of AI like that, they're usually thinking of a progression from very basic systems to more and more capable and human-like systems. The 3rd level you're mentioning, agentic AI, is kind of where the AI can act on its own to achieve goals. But let me just walk you through them real quick. At the very basic level, you have what we call something like reactive machines. They just respond to the immediate input. They don't have memory or a sense of the past. Think of something like a simple chess program that only knows the current board state. Then you get to systems with a bit of memory, where they can learn from past data. Like a lot of machine learning models we have now, they improve over time by training on more data. The 3rd level, the agentic
so that
level,
second level is what we've been using for the past couple of years, where the LLMs got to a point. That 2nd level.
Yeah, exactly. So that 2nd level is basically where we've been hanging out with large language models for the last few years. They're able to remember context within a conversation, learn from lots of data, and give you responses that feel pretty human-like. But they're not really setting goals on their own or taking initiative like an agentic AI.
You're taking too much time for us here, so shorten it up a little bit. So the 3rd level is agentic, and then what's the 4th level?
Absolutely. Let's keep it quick. So the 4th level is often something like reflective or self-improving AI. That's where the AI can not just act on goals, but also reflect on its own performance and maybe improve itself over time.
Okay, so we're bouncing in a little bit there, but this agentic mode is kind of the mid mode between, really novel, coming up with novel ideas, inventing new, cures and that type of thing, where we have some control over it. So we're kind of telling it what to do, but then allowing it to kind of act. And this is the big one for, anybody who talks about the economy and businesses, so forth, because this is the one that starts taking those white collar jobs. So this is a significant leap. And from the beginning, when ChatGPT was first announced, this was kind of what people like me and I think Anthony as well were kind of waiting for. This is kind of the leap that we were all anticipating and seeing that it was going to come. And of course, early on addition here doesn't work perfectly, but we're already messing around with some things ourselves here that you can see what it's going to be able to do.
So I think one thing for the our viewers here that are listening in or watching us, I'm going to give an example that Perplexity had used. That's one of the engines that is a AI search engine. So it's using a combination of LLM and search capabilities to come up with results and answers. So they came out with a browser, an AI browser called Comet. And Comet has a function in there that's kind of like what I would call the first start of an agentic assistant. So, and they had it as a demo, and I wanted to test it myself, so I did, and it absolutely does this. So here's the instructions I gave the assistant in Comet, right? Well, it was the food example. It was the food one. So we said, all right, I want fettuccine Alfredo. Find me a recipe, get the ingredients, go to Kroger. I want to pick up the Kroger. I want to do a pickup at 5 o'clock in Rochester Hills when I'm done with work. Add all the ingredients into the cart. I don't have anything at home. I need all the ingredients put in. Check out 5 o'clock, and then take the recipe that you found and email it to my printer, because I got the HP Printer E printer thing there. So that was what I told it to do. So the agentic piece, then you can see it pulls it over on the side and it starts parsing what are all the steps I need to do. Find a recipe, but go to Kroger, go to this, go log in, blah blah blah, all this stuff. And sure enough, it started doing all of those things. So it grabbed a recipe, it navigated.
How did it determine the recipe? Could you tell? And one thing we should mention, just to take a step back, was that it's so cool that you can see it working, right?
Yes.
That
you're literally watching.
Right. This window comes up, and Chat had started with something like this, but I agree. I thought Comet was a lot better. You can watch it moving along, all the way down to, hey, I don't see the worksheet that I'm supposed to go grab here, but it must be to the right. I'll scroll over, talking to itself that way, just kind of freaky. But yeah, go on.
Yes, yeah, no.
But how did it pick the recipe? I'm curious.
It did its research. I don't know. When it was doing the research piece, it wasn't browsing. It was like looking for recipes, and then it found a recipe it liked, and then it just put it in.
Okay.
So then on the browser, it went to Kroger's website. It logged me in, so I was now logged into.
Now, how did it know?
It was saved in the history. There's the big. We'll get to security side later.
Yeah. Okay, that's why I'm asking. Sure.
Yeah, so let's note security, because that's an important piece with these new tools now. So. Login password was saved in the browser, like we all do with Chrome and all this other stuff. So logged in, and then it went in. It says, "Oh, I see the search bar." Went in the search bar, and it says fettuccine.
It was using your browser too.
Yeah, that is exactly.
I wasn't thinking about that exactly.
That is exactly.
So it's
using the browser.
Sure.
So it has the passwords.
Sure, of course.
And all of that in it.
All right. That's dangerous.
It was very entertaining. So, and sure enough, in the Kroger, it was already saved to my store, so I didn't test it to like move stores or anything, but that could be interesting. So then it started searching for each of the ingredients. Need fettuccine. Need cream, and it started adding it into the cart. And then it went to checkout, and it checked out, and it did the entire thing.
All right, you might not want it to check out on you
Well,
right off the bat. But
so at the end of it, I had recipe on the printer, stuff ready to be picked up at 5 o'clock, and all I did is tell it what I needed it to do, and it broke everything to steps, and it kept working. And when it has an error, like it can't find it, like, hey, I typed in fettuccine and nothing came up on the screen. Let me click on the search box, and it'll keep doing it until it can figure out how to get the actual steps done. So the interesting piece to that, and that's what we're saying, circling back to the security side, is it absolutely will. It has the same access level the user does, and that's what's scary in the security world, because if you can click, it's still just reading HTML. It's not actually seeing the screen, but if you can click, it can click. And I've been testing this with CAPTCHAs, and about half of them, the AI browser is able to do the CAPTCHA itself. There's certain types it can't do that are like JavaScript enabled, because it doesn't actually see the screen. Sure. It's reading the initial refreshment. So when you have like the JavaScript's embedded in the page that's referencing another site, it can't see that. But there's so many of them, you don't realize, I do now, how many of those CAPTCHAs are not real secure at all, because the AI browser is literally clicking through them. So now it can make purchases for you. Same thing, Amazon. You need something on Amazon, right? You just tell it, like, hey, go find me the best, I don't know, TV. I need a 40-inch TV. Find me the best priced one with the best reviews, and go order it. It will go to Amazon. It will search through. It'll do the research on the TVs, find it, go into your Amazon, add it to the cart, hit ship, order, and you'll have it at your house in an hour by drone, probably. I don't know. So,
and important that it's connected to a browser-based Perplexity system, right? That's going after factual information a lot better than some of the others are. It's not making up stuff, and especially if you're looking at something specific like that, right? It's not gonna hallucinate a 40-inch TV, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, right. Like Chat and Gemini tend to do. Well, Gemini not as much, but Chat, for the large language models, for sure. So you end up with real research and data from Perplexity's search engine combined with the LLM processing, and then you end up with a really good recommendation out of that. Right. And I've actually been using that lately, just to see how good are these at really identifying, like, are they just looking at high reviews, which half the time the reviews are made by AI bots anyways, so they're not real. I think, what was it, even the posts online, like, you think they're people in reviews. They're not. They're just more chat bots that are just going in and making reviews that aren't actually part of anything.
Sure.
So, what is it actually doing? Is it looking at history? Is it looking at the company? Is it looking at, all those sort of pieces, the reputation, the history, and putting all those things together to say, okay, this is the TV you should be getting and why, and then giving you that and purchase.
And I'm not sure. I mean, they would argue that's what it's doing, right? And it would, I think, when I say they, the powers that be that have the 5 or 6 big AI systems, they probably would argue that. I think an AI would probably say, look, I can tell if it's a bunch of bots here. All these reviews came within the last 2 years. I'm looking prior to that, or looking for people prior to that. Actual human beings, like that kind of thing. I've been asked that a million times. How do you know? What if a bunch of information is dumped that's wrong, but they put it in system a million times, and so the AI, when it goes out to look, it says, oh, 1 million people said this. How do you know it's not getting manipulated? And I think the AI looks at it and says, hey, all 1 million of those came within the last 2 weeks. I'm going to discount that. I think.
And by the way, they used me in their instance to make all those.
Yeah,
so I know they're mine.
Exactly. Yeah, right. There you go. Even crazier when it's one all-encompassing AI. Oh, I know, No, just that's fascinating to me. And we've talked about this a ton, because this is a big, big issue for me, is if once you start trusting the AI, because every time you question it, it does pick the best product. Or when it shows up, it's like, wow, now I know why you picked this great job, sort of a attitude. And then you'll just get used to, letting it pick for you. And you mentioned Amazon, but, you go out and say, buy me a TV. I'd be curious. I haven't used it that way, but why Amazon or Walmart? Why not go to other places that,
the new integrations.
Yes.
They're integrated now. They're adding Etsy. So you're going to be able to make purchases directly through I guess it's not really search results, the conversations. When it researches those items, we'll use the TV still, right? So here's the 40-inch TV I think you should have, but it's not. It might be, here's Best Buy, here's Amazon, here's pick Meijer, here's pick the next, whatever they are.
Or how about this? Frank in Toledo accidentally has 3 of them. They're still in the box, unused. He's willing to sell it for $400 instead of $600. Here's his information. I checked him out. Seems reputable. We can do something through the blockchain.
Found him on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you want me to contact him and see if he's looking, you got a seller there, and I'll keep track of make sure it's sent, and he's going to send me the particulars. I'll handle all the behind the scenes, Wow, that makes a big difference, too, than when anybody can sell anything, Well, Etsy kind of did that to a certain extent. It's amazing when this leads to ChatGPT came out with a shopping program. I don't know if you saw that. So they have a shopping program. And really, it's what we're talking about right here. Yep. We're talking about a shopping program. So they're trying to, get all the vendors to use one type of protocol and the whole 9 yards. But I don't necessarily need them, right? If it's going to go out and find it for you anyway, that's a huge difference. And that all of a sudden brings prices down quite a bit, I would think, if everybody just starts ordering things that way. Instead of going right to Amazon, you say, hey, go find me the best, and it doesn't go find it anywhere.
Yeah, and that's really going to change. I guess what becomes the kind of the currency at that point. So if you're always going to get the best price on a product, so you can't compete on price necessarily anymore if you're selling widgets or TVs or something. So I guess the difference then, the currency becomes what? Who's got the cheapest shipping costs? Because that's, if it's getting shipped from Hawaii to here versus, in Michigan versus, down the street sort of thing, there's probably some play in there. If it's my local shop downtown and they have that exact same model, well, they have profit priced into it, but now the shipping is almost nothing, and it's in stock. So maybe what? So you have maybe delivery costs become a factor in who gets the sale. Maybe if it's in stock or not, how quick you're going to get it. Am I shipping it from out of country so I can get it cheaper, but I have to wait 2 weeks?
Sure.
Or I can get it a little more expensive, but I can get it today or tomorrow, or it's in the store 30 feet away from me, by the way. Side note, you can just go get it if you want it now.
Right.
There's that has to kind of change the economics a little bit, I would think.
Oh, no question. And the reason why, the Walmarts and the Amazons are still going to dominate for a long time. They already have those supply chain, delivery chain, all that kind of stuff built, and trying to build out the drones to delivery and all that, right? I think that's why they're doing that is, they understand that they're not going to be able to compete on price anymore. Everybody else can get down to close to that level to a certain extent. Now it's, convenience and speed, like you mentioned.
And service, maybe, after sales.
Sure.
I think that got lost.
Returning.
I think that got lost a lot during, our last 5 years.
Yeah.
There became a definite, at least in my view here and around Michigan, a definite difference in the service levels, kind of pre and post pandemic.
Sure.
For whatever the reasons are. But I think that might then become a play back, right? It's like, well, I know if I buy from Greg, it's an extra $50, but I know I don't have to worry about anything. If I have questions, he's also a repair place. So if I have any problems with it, he will not only be able to, I might pay a little bit more, but he can also service it. He can also repair it. I know him. He will also tell me, like, yeah, we've been having a lot of issues with that model. Maybe try this other brand instead. It has a lot of the same features, because it has a bad motherboard in this other one that keeps frying every 6 months.
But maybe AI is better at it than he is, and that you can't always trust that he's steering you the right direction.
And it needs access to that information.
Yeah.
There's the big thing. So
Yeah.
now what is it? Facebook and all these other ones, right? Data becomes the currency, right? I need data. And that's why, like you say, look at like returns and stuff, let's say services. Well, unless that exists somewhere that the AIs can access to know that they keep having to buy these motherboards over and over again for this TV,
Sure.
you can't find it. And that's where I think some of these like more all-in-one supply chain sort of things, like look at like Google, Apple's not doing much, but like Google, for instance, right? They make phones, they service them, they have centers, they have all the data. They have the emails, right, in Gmail, right? So it knows, hey, the motherboard has been shipped. It knows everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And it can then probably infer that a lot better than, say, Facebook's Meta, right, which does not have access to any of these things to even be able to tell you if some parts are being shipped, not shipped, repaired, status updates. There's no email integrations that it has unless you give it.
Yeah.
And so that just, I think, changes the way things look. It just morphs it.
And they have Facebook on the other side, unless, Google probably scraped Facebook too, but, Meta would argue they have unique information, just like X saying, tweets are, Twitter's a unique source. Shoot, Etsy. So Etsy was up big on the announcement of ChatGPT shopping. And
Oh, yeah, that's right.
because people will find that end user, I want to buy a pencil, but hey, I have a pencil that, has a troll on top of it or something, it's just something unique or whatever. That was quite I'm surprised the market just figured that out, right? They already had shopping. You don't need this shopping component. You could already see this sort of coming. So I thought that was interesting. The other part of data.
That's a good point you bring up. Stay wait 1 second on that one, though. So the more you use the tools, the more it knows about you. So it knows you might be wanting a pencil, but, well, hey, here's this firefighting pencil.
Yeah.
Or here's this themed pencil.
Yeah.
So now the pencil's still the same Ticonderoga number 2, whatever it is, but it has this extra stuff that you're going to like that you can get off Etsy or you can get off wherever it is that has like the more customization stuff because you'll like this more.
Yeah.
So that changes a lot too.
And the type of, everybody asks, hey, we're going to destroy all these jobs, but you're also going to create jobs. So this is the kind of thing that it would create, anybody who's creative in approaching something. I was also going to mention, I think this is fascinating. So you're talking about Google and having Gmail versus Meta and having unique things with Facebook. ChatGPT paid Reddit just a ton of money to get all of their feeds as well here in the past couple of years. And I saw something recently saying that when you ask advice on particular items in particular, that Reddit is just dominating their answers. Because you have actual users out there, and you're hoping they're not bots, or Reddit's been, collecting this for years that say, no, here's the user, and they're answering, a giant chat room for almost any type of, from TVs all the way down, any type of product. I think that's fascinating. So it behooves you to go out into the different ones and ask the same question, right?
That's true, because it will then vary greatly because it's all based on the training data, right? These large language models, they are, and that's the P in GPT, pre-trained. They're pre-trained models. They have to be given information to train on to give the answers. So if all of a sudden there's a huge surge in Reddit information, which take that for whatever it is, all of a sudden now it's going to be basing a lot more responses and answers on that data that it has.
Yes.
Good or bad.
Right.
So now data becomes super important. And that's where I think these agentic tools, the ones who are going to win, and I say win being the ones that, everyone will use kind of the most normal. I think that's where I put more money on like a Google, for instance, because I think all of those layers of different things that's going to make it useful. I think right now, unless there's a bunch of parent companies and integrations that I don't know of, and there could be, they have the most control over. So I think the tools will end up being the same, but the data they have access to, I think, is just going to be better with like a Google versus, let's say we have the Agentic tool. I gave the recipe example. Okay. So there's really not anything special about the Agentic tools. It's multi-steps. It takes information, breaks things down, and executes and refers and reviews and executes and reviews and keeps going until the result's done. So if you had the same tool, the only thing that becomes different is it's going to look a lot different, that tool on ChatGPT versus that exact same tool on Meta versus that exact same tool on Gemini, because like those integrations become so important. Having access to, Reddit is one thing. Look at how much they've all purchased, bought, given money to get access to all these troves of information and data and updates and all that sort of stuff, just to be able to make sure that their tool is this much better than everyone else's. And that little bit is going to drive them to sales and clicked links and referrals and selling and getting revenue and all sorts of stuff on it.
And I'm with you, honestly, but it's not showing up in the data. I'm shocked that ChatGPT, OpenAI, continues to rank toward the top whenever they come out with a new product. And
you think it's just funding related, though? I mean, they do have, I would argue, more money than anyone else.
Yeah, but this had to be done, a couple of years ago, right?
That's true.
From the start. They've all been, and the rest of them played catch up to a certain extent.
That's a fair point. That we didn't want to be last or out,
right? And so they spent money and
Apple.
whatever they did, but it seems like OpenAI has as much, if not better, information than a lot of them do. Certainly, Meta kind of being behind a little bit, Llama just being behind a little bit. It's like, you have Facebook. You should have all the information everybody else did to scrape, right? You scrape the same way. But you have Facebook, you have to have unique information there. I would have thought something like Facebook would have been huge for them. Gmail, huge. Microsoft, and maybe Microsoft is feeding data to OpenAI. I shouldn't say maybe. They certainly are. Maybe that's helped them. But I've been shocked that OpenAI has been able to stay ahead this long. Because I thought, nope. Once it started happening, like Google, as you mentioned, just shut down our data here. Everyone who had unique stuff just shut it down, so we can only use that. Or Twitter is a huge one. I know he shut that down. I don't know how you do it because it's still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they put a lot of effort in to try and stop that. And so maybe it isn't. Maybe they don't know. Maybe I'm starting to feel like nobody has information that anybody else has, or it's so insignificant what you have, it's already been inferred over here because of coming at it a different way, that the information you think you have isn't as important as you think. I've been shocked. So I think that's the test, though. The one guy that's outside of everything, right, that doesn't have unique information themselves, didn't start with that, is still winning this thing, or at least right there at the top.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. All right. Any other agentic items on our list here? Otherwise, should we wrap this one up and go on for?
Sure. Are we up on our time?
We're getting close now. Here we go.
All right. You're good.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining AGI, Anthony and Greg on intelligence. We covered quite a variety of items, all somehow tied into the Agentic AI levels that's coming up now. So thank you, chat, for giving us what topic we're going to be chatting about next. And
I don't think this is the last time we're going to talk about agentic stuff.
I think we're certainly not going to be.
every time.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll stay tuned, and we'll see you at the next one.